I'll never forget how they looked at me during that first meeting. Not hostile, not welcoming. Just the eyes of people who were absolutely certain I'd quit within weeks. The conference room reeked of cologne and conviction, 12 men around a mahogany table, each one radiating the kind of confidence that comes from never having to prove you belong. They didn't need to say it out loud. Their smirks said everything. This wasn't a place for someone like me. My name is Lauren McKay, and I just turned 32 when I walked into Iron Veil Systems that September morning. 6 months post-divorce, 2,000 miles from everything I'd known in Oregon. Austin's heat hit me like a slap of reality. This was supposed to be my fresh start, a senior sales position at one of Texas's fastest-growing industrial equipment suppliers. The lobby gleamed with testosterone-fueled success stories, framed photos of sales teams at golf tournaments, hunting trips, NASCAR events. All men, every single one. Chuck Redmond, the regional sales director, barely looked up from his phone when I knocked on his office door. "McKay, yeah, come in." He was exactly what I'd expected, mid-50s, former college linebacker gone soft, wedding ring cutting into a swollen finger. The kind of guy who probably hadn't updated his sales techniques since the Clinton administration. "Let me be straight with you," he said, finally putting down his phone. "HR made us take you. Diversity quotas and all that bullshit. This isn't really a job for a woman." I'd heard variations of this before, but never quite so blunt. "I've got 8 years of B2B sales experience, top performer at..." "Yeah, I saw your resume." He leaned back, chair creaking under his weight. Selling software to tech startups in Portland isn't the same as selling industrial equipment to construction companies in Texas. These guys, our clients, they're not exactly the sensitive type. They want to deal with someone who understands their world. He walked me to the sales floor, a pit of cubicles that smelled like microwaved leftovers and desperation. 8 men looked up from their desks. Not one smiled. "Gentlemen, meet Lauren. She'll be joining the team." Chuck's tone suggested he was announcing a terminal diagnosis. "Tommy, show her to her desk." Tommy Castellano stood up slowly. All 6'4" of him. Ex-military, I guessed from the posture. "Hope you're tougher than you look," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Last woman lasted 11 days. My desk was in the corner, furthest from the coffee machine and bathroom. The computer was ancient, the phone missing 2 buttons. Someone had left a pink stress ball on the keyboard with a post-it note. "You'll need this." During my first team meeting that afternoon, I understood why. Chuck went around the room, each sales guy reporting their numbers, their big wins, their promising leads. When it came to my turn, I started to introduce myself properly. "We'll skip you this week." Chuck interrupted. "Get settled first. Watch and learn." Brad Williams, sitting across from me, snorted. "Besides, quotas are lower for the ladies, right? Wouldn't want to embarrass you on day 1. The room erupted in laughter. I smiled, the kind of smile I'd perfected during my divorce proceedings, all teeth, no warmth. "Actually, I'd love to hear what the top performers' numbers look like. Something to aim for." The laughter stopped. They exchanged glances like wolves deciding if the new pup was prey or competition. "Sure," said Marcus Chen. "No, sorry." Marcus Shaw, their supposed rainmaker. "I closed 4.2 million last quarter. Doubt you've ever seen numbers like that in your..." What was it? Software? 5.1, I said quietly. "My best quarter." "But you're right, different industry. I'm sure I have a lot to learn." Chuck cleared his throat. All right, Lauren. I'm giving you the dead accounts. Clients who haven't ordered in over a year. Good practice, low pressure, don't expect miracles." After the meeting, I overheard them in the break room. 2 weeks, max," someone said. "I got $20 on 10 days. Another voice added, "You're on. Easiest money I'll ever make." That night, in my empty apartment with boxes still unpacked, I spread out the list of dead accounts. 63 companies that Iron Veil had written off. Contact names no one had bothered to update. Purchase histories that told stories of relationships gone cold. They thought they were burying me with garbage. What they'd actually done was hand me a gold mine. Clients with no expectations, no preconceived notions about who should be selling to them, and most importantly, no relationship with the good old boys who'd written them off. I opened my laptop and started researching. By 2 a.m., I'd mapped out my first 20 targets. They wanted me gone? Fine. But I'd make damn sure they remembered my name when I left. The first month was hell dressed in business casual. Every morning, I'd arrive at 7:30 to find my desk accidentally unplugged, my client files mysteriously shuffled, or my parking spot taken despite the clearly marked sign. Petty shit that would have been laughable if it wasn't so exhausting. Chuck made sure I wasn't invited to the real meetings, the ones where they discussed strategy over bourbon at Stockyard Steakhouse, when construction giant Maverick Industries came in for a quarterly review. I was told to cover the phones while the boys went to lunch. When I asked to join the Houston trade show trip, Chuck laughed. That's a lot of relationship building, late nights. Wouldn't want to put you in an uncomfortable position. But it was the group chat that really showed me where I stood. Tommy let it slip one afternoon. They had a WhatsApp group called Wolfpack. I saw a notification pop up on his screen, a photo of me on the phone with crying laughing emojis. The message preview read, "She actually thinks she can sell to Jim Patterson, Jim Patterson." I'd called him that morning about his dormant account with Ridgeline Construction. He'd been difficult, hung up twice, but I'd gotten him to agree to a 15-minute call tomorrow. Dead accounts turned out to be an education in rejection. My first 50 calls yielded exactly 3 callbacks. 2 were guys thinking I was someone's assistant. The third was a purchasing manager who spent 10 minutes explaining why girls like me should stick to pharmaceutical sales. Better hours for when you have kids. I kept a notebook, documenting every call, not just the outcomes, but the objections, the tone, the exact words that made someone hang up or lean in. Patterns emerged. The dead accounts weren't dead because of product issues. They were dead because my predecessors had treated small orders like inconveniences, ignored emails from anyone below C-suite, and assumed construction meant old-school handshake deals. Week 3, I closed my first deal. Barely worth celebrating, a $12,000 order from a restoration company in San Marcos. But Sarah Martinez, their procurement lead, mentioned something interesting. "You're the first person from Iron Vale to actually ask what we need instead of telling us what we should buy." Chuck announced it in the Monday meeting with all the enthusiasm of reading a grocery list. Oh, and Lauren got precision restoration back. Small potatoes, but hey, it's something. The guys golf clapped sarcastically. "What's your secret, Lauren?" Brad asked, voice dripping condescension. "Let me guess, did you cry? I heard that works sometimes." "I listened," I said. "Revolutionary concept, I know." Tommy jumped in. "Listening doesn't close deals. Relationships close deals. Trust, history, things you can't build overnight." He looked around the table for support. Or with a pretty smile. That afternoon, I found my business cards in the trash. The entire box of 500, soaked in what smelled like protein shake. The message was clear: you don't belong here. And we'll make sure you know it. But something strange was happening with those dead accounts. Sarah Martinez had referred me to 2 other companies. Word was spreading through a network I hadn't known existed. Procurement managers, operations coordinators, project managers. Many of them women or younger professionals who'd been ignored by the Wolfpack's bourbon and backslaps approach. My notebook grew thick with intelligence. Discovery Construction needed faster delivery windows, not bulk discounts. Terraform Industries wanted detailed sustainability reports, not cowboys' tickets. Smaller firms were pooling orders to hit minimum quantities, something no one at Iron Vale had bothered to facilitate. By week 6, I'd closed 9 accounts. Small ones. Sure. The biggest was barely $40,000. Chuck assigned me a mentor, Marcus Shaw, the rainmaker who'd tried to intimidate me that first day. "Let me show you how it's really done," Marcus said, dragging me to a client meeting I hadn't been invited to. He spent 40 minutes talking about his college football days with the client, a good old boy named Rex. They laughed about their ex-wives, complained about how complicated business had gotten. When Rex finally asked about a quote for industrial piping, Marcus ballparked a number 30% higher than our list price. "For you, buddy, I'll make it work." Rex signed. Marcus looked at me triumphantly. That's how you do it. Relationships. That night, I looked up Rex's company. They were hemorrhaging money. 3 months from bankruptcy according to their last filing. Marcus had just locked in a deal with a company that might not exist by the time the invoice was due. But hey, he'd hit his numbers for the month. I started working the phones at 6 a.m. before the wolf pack arrived. 60 calls before lunch became my minimum. I mapped decision-maker networks, tracked project timelines, built a database of pain points and preferences. When the guys were at their 3-hour client lunches, I was following up on quotes, solving delivery issues, connecting buyers with complementary needs. The dead accounts weren't dead at all. They were just waiting for someone to give a damn. I stopped trying to play their game the day Marcus's big deal with Rex fell through. Rex's company folded, leaving Iron Vale with $200,000 in uncollectible debt. During the emergency meeting, while Chuck ranted about unforeseeable market conditions, I sat quietly, remembering Marcus's triumphant smirk from 6 weeks earlier. That's when I realized they weren't just bad at their jobs, they were dinosaurs, selling the same way their fathers had. Blind to how the industry was evolving under their feet. My approach shifted. Instead of chasing the old boys network that would never accept me, I focused on the emerging players. The construction industry was changing. Women-owned firms were growing 5x faster than the market average. Tech-forward companies were disrupting traditional builders. Sustainability wasn't just buzzwords anymore, it was bid requirements. I built my own network. Elena Vasquez, who ran a commercial renovation firm, introduced me to her contractor circle, a tight-knit group of Hispanic-owned businesses that the Wolfpack had written off as too small. Jasmine Thompson, procurement director at a green building startup, connected me with an entire ecosystem of companies prioritizing LEED certification. My desk became command central for a different kind of sales operation. While the boys were schmoozing at the country club, I was hosting virtual product demos at 6 p.m. to accommodate my clients' actual schedules. While they were sending generic quotes, I was creating customized sustainability reports showing how our equipment reduced carbon footprints. The small orders kept flowing, $15K here, $25K there. Chuck barely noticed. During pipeline reviews, he'd skip past my accounts so fast I barely had time to report. Lauren's doing her little deals, he'd say. Let's focus on the real opportunities. Then Tommy approached me. It was late, past 7 p.m. The office was empty except for us. How'd you get Martinez to double her order? He asked, trying to sound casual. Sarah Martinez had just placed a $75,000 order, her company's largest ever with Iron Vale. I looked up from my computer. Why do you care? Look, I'm not. He shifted uncomfortably. I've got 3 kids. My numbers are down. My biggest client just got acquired. And the new management isn't returning calls. I watched you turn Precision Restoration from dead to loyal in 8 weeks. I need to know how. For a moment, I considered helping him. Then I remembered the pink stress ball, the trashed business cards, the WhatsApp messages he thought I couldn't see. You want my secret? I stood up, gathering my things. Stop treating people like conquests and start treating them like partners. Stop assuming you know what they need and start asking. Oh, and maybe don't spend 3 months making the new hire's life hell and then expect free coaching. His face flushed. Come on, that was just what? Hazing? Boys being boys? Testing if I was tough enough? I shouldered my bag. Congratulations, Tommy, I'm tough enough. Now figure out your own salvation. The next week, something shifted. My little deals had quietly added up to $400,000 in new revenue for Q3. Still small by Wolfpack standards, but with a crucial difference, My clients were placing repeat orders. Their debt accounts needed constant hunting. Mine were becoming annuities. Brad noticed first. How the hell does EcoBuild know about our new solar-compatible line? That's not even in the catalog yet. I didn't look up from my screen, because I asked what would make their lives easier, and they told me. Then I asked product development if we had solutions. Turns out, we did. You can't just go around product development like that. Like what? Doing my job? The Wolfpack's whispers grew louder. They stopped talking when I entered the break room, started closing their laptops when I walked by. Chuck scheduled more strategic sessions that I somehow never knew about until after they happened. But I wasn't playing defense anymore. I was building an entirely different game. I created a referral program my clients actually wanted to use. Not the corporate-approved one that offered token discounts, but a real partnership where I connected complementary businesses and helped them win bids together. When Vasquez Construction needed specialty fasteners we didn't carry, I introduced them to a supplier who did, and earned both their loyalties. My CRM notes looked nothing like the others. While they tracked golf handicaps and kids' names, I documented project timelines, budget cycles, sustainability goals, and which clients were one bad quarter from switching suppliers entirely. Information they'd never think to gather because they'd never had to work for trust. By month 4, my close rate was 73%. The Wolfpack average, 31%. Chuck finally paid attention during a pipeline review when he realized my little deals had a higher profit margin than most of their volume sales. "What are you charging these people?" he demanded. "List price," I said. Turns out when you actually solve problems instead of just moving metal, people don't need discounts to say yes. The room went silent. In their world, every deal required shaving margins to beat the competition. In mine, I was the only one calling who gave a damn about their success. That night, I walked to my car to find a note under my windshield. Know your place? I did know my place. I was building it myself, one relationship at a time. And unlike their house of cards built on handshakes and history, mine was built to last. A year in, and the ground was shifting beneath their feet while they were too busy high-fiving to notice. The Wolfpack's numbers started their slow decline in Q2. Nothing dramatic. Marcus lost a major client to retirement. Brad's territory got hit with project delays. Tommy's contacts were getting laid off in acquisition shuffles. The kind of normal business erosion that happens when you're coasting on relationships instead of building value. Meanwhile, my ecosystem was thriving. Those 2 small companies I'd cultivated were winning bids against established players. The green building startup Jasmine worked for had just landed a $50 million federal contract. Elena Vasquez's renovation firm was expanding into 3 new states. And they all remembered who'd taken their calls when nobody else would. What the Wolfpack missed entirely was that I wasn't just maintaining relationships. I was positioned at the center of an emerging network. When clients asked for introductions, recommendations, or industry insights, they called me. I'd become something more valuable than a sales rep, a trusted advisor who happened to sell industrial equipment. The Houston conference changed everything. Iron Veil was sending the usual crew, Chuck and his top 3 performers. I wasn't invited, naturally. But Jasmine Thompson called the week before. "Lauren, we're presenting at Clean Build Houston. Our vendor just backed out. Could Iron Veil fill a speaking slot on sustainable construction solutions?" Chuck nearly choked on his coffee when I told him, "We don't do that environmental stuff. Tell them no." "Already said yes," I replied. "And 3 of my clients will be there. They're expecting us." He wanted to send Marcus instead. I held firm. It was my relationship, my opportunity. After a call from Jasmine to Iron Veil's CEO mentioning how disappointed they'd be if their contact couldn't attend, Chuck relented, but I'd have to pay my own way. I spent 2 weeks preparing a presentation that would have made our marketing team weep, if we'd had one. Instead of our usual, "we're the biggest and the best" rhetoric, I showed actual case studies, how our equipment helped clients hit sustainability targets, ROI calculations that included energy savings, Innovation partnerships that the Wolfpack didn't even know our company offered. The room was packed. Not with the usual suspects, grizzled contractors, and old-school purchasing guys, but with project managers, sustainability directors, and procurement professionals under 40. My people. Afterward, the conversations flowed fast. A renewable energy contractor needing specialized equipment for solar installations. A green developer looking for suppliers who could provide environmental impact data. A construction tech startup wanting integration partners. But the real victory came from an unexpected source. Margaret Liu, head of infrastructure for one of Texas's largest hospital systems, approached during the networking break. I've been trying to reach someone at Ironvale for months about a major renovation project. Every sales rep I talked to said it was too complicated for their standard offerings. Too complicated. Translation: too much work for too little commission certainty. We talked for an hour. Her project needed custom specifications, phased deliveries, and detailed compliance documentation. Everything the Wolfpack avoided because it couldn't be solved with a steak dinner and a handshake. By the time I flew back to Austin, we had a follow-up meeting scheduled. Chuck didn't ask about Houston, neither did the others. They were too busy planning their annual Vegas client appreciation trip, the one where they'd spend more on bottle service than I'd spent on my entire conference trip. Q3 was when the invisible became undeniable. My pipeline wasn't just healthy, it was explosive. The hospital system project alone was worth $2.8 million. The Sustainable Construction Network had generated another $1.5 million in opportunities. My renewal rate was 94%, while the team average languished at 67%. During a rare moment of honesty, Brad cornered me at the coffee machine. What the hell happened? When did construction become so complicated? It didn't become complicated, I said, pouring my coffee. You just stopped paying attention. Your clients' kids are running the companies now. They care about different things. They buy differently. And they remember who treated them like the future versus who treated them like their fathers. He stared at his phone, probably checking the WhatsApp group for validation. But the Wolfpack was quieter these days. Hard to howl when you're being outrun by prey. The pattern was clear to anyone watching. My clients referred new business. Theirs demanded deeper discounts. My deals closed in 30 days. Theirs dragged for months. I was building a sales practice for 2025. They were still selling like it was 1995. Chuck started asking questions. Subtle at first. Maybe you should share some of your methods with the team. Then more direct. We need to redistribute some accounts for fairness. Fairness. After a year of sabotage, suddenly he cared about fairness. Happy to share methods, I replied during one team meeting. Who wants to join my 6 a.m. call blitzes? Or stay until 8 p.m. for West Coast client demos? Anyone interested in reading 50-page sustainability reports to understand emerging requirements? Silence. That's what I thought. I said, you don't want my methods. You want my results without the work. But here's the thing. My clients aren't just buying products. They're buying into a vision of business where their success matters more than my commission check. Until you understand that, you'll keep watching your numbers slide while wondering what happened. Tommy cleared his throat. You can't talk to us like what? Like equals? Like professionals? Like the future of this company while you're its past? I stood up. Gentlemen, the market has spoken. Adapt or become irrelevant. Your choice. That night, I updated my pipeline projections. Q4 was going to be a bloodbath. For them. For me? It was going to be proof that sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's transformation that leaves them behind. The Q4 results meeting was scheduled for January 15th. 4 p.m. I'd marked it in my calendar 6 months earlier, knowing this would be the day everything changed. I arrived early, choosing a seat where I could see everyone's face. The conference room filled with its usual cloud of cologne and ego. But something was different. The backslapping felt forced, the laughter too loud. They knew something was coming, they just didn't know what. Chuck walked in with printouts, his face unreadable. The CFO, Patricia Stern, followed. I'd only seen her in this meeting twice before, both times to announce layoffs. "Gentlemen," Chuck began, then caught himself. "And Lauren. Let's dive into Q4 performance." He pulled up the first slide. Total department revenue, $8.7 million, down 3% from last year. A few uncomfortable shifts in seats. Individual performance varied significantly. He clicked to the next slide. Let's start from the bottom. Tommy, $740,000, down 22%. Brad, $890,000, down 18%. Two others I'd barely bothered to learn the names of, $650,000 and $705,000 respectively. Marcus, the former Rainmaker, $1.1 million, down 35%. Challenging market conditions, Marcus muttered. The economy? The economy grew 3.2%. Patricia interrupted. Construction spending increased 5% year over year. So let's discuss actual causes. Chuck clicked again. My name appeared at the top of the screen. Lauren McKay, 3 Botany 74 million. The room went airless. That's... Brad's voice cracked. That's 43% of the department total. 43.1%, Patricia corrected. From someone who started with dead accounts and no territory advantages. Lauren, walk us through your client breakdown. I stood, steady despite the adrenaline flooding my system. 63 active accounts, 94% renewal rate. Average deal size increased 340% over the year as clients expanded their relationships with us. Key wins include Margaret Liu's hospital system at $2.8 million, the Sustainable Construction Collective at $1.5 million combined, and 47 SMB accounts contributing the balance. SMB, Chuck asked weakly. Small and medium businesses, the ones you called not worth the time. I clicked to my prepared slide. I'd sent it to Patricia that morning. These small accounts have a 67% higher profit margin than our enterprise deals because they pay list price, pay on time, and require minimal entertaining expenses. Tommy's face had gone gray. You can't compare. We have established relationships to maintain. Had, Patricia said quietly. You had established relationships. Marcus, explain how you lost Apex Construction after 17 years. Marcus sputtered about market conditions, personnel changes, competitive pressure. The truth, which I knew from Apex's new procurement manager, was simpler. Marcus had missed 3 delivery deadlines because he was too busy golfing to handle logistics issues. They'd called me last month for a quote. The market has evolved, Patricia continued. Our client base is younger, more diverse, more focused on sustainability and innovation. Lauren understood this. She built relationships with emerging decision-makers while you gentlemen continued calling on people who no longer control budgets. Chuck tried one last deflection. These numbers don't reflect the full picture. Relationship building, brand ambassadorship. Stop. Patricia's voice cut like ice. Lauren generated more revenue than the rest of the team combined while receiving 0 support, minimal resources, and active hostility. Which brings me to our next topic. She pulled out her phone and connected it to the screen. Screenshots appeared. The Wolfpack WhatsApp group. Months of messages mocking me, planning to sabotage my calls, celebrating when they thought I'd failed. It provided these at my request, Patricia said into the silence. Fascinating reading, particularly the parts about deliberately hiding client information and destroying company property. Lauren's business cards, I believe. No one breathed. Here's what's going to happen, she continued. Effective immediately. Lauren is promoted to Regional Sales Director, Western Division. Chuck, you're being reassigned to operations, reporting to Lauren for any sales support needs. The rest of you will undergo performance improvement plans. Those who don't meet Q1 targets will be terminated. You can't, Brad started. I'm not finished. Patricia turned to me. Lauren, you'll rebuild this department. Hire who you need, fire who you must. Your budget is approved for 4 new hires immediately. The meeting dissolved into chaos. Marcus stormed out. Tommy sat frozen. Brad was furiously texting. probably updating the wolf pack about their extinction. Chuck lingered after the others fled. How? He asked. How did you know? Know what? That it would end like this, that the market would shift, that we'd become obsolete. I gathered my papers, thinking of every sneer, every little deal, every attempt to break me. I didn't know the market would shift. Chuck, I shifted with it. You were so busy protecting yesterday that you couldn't see tomorrow coming. That's not... He paused, looking older than his years. We had a system. It worked. It worked for you, I corrected. For men who looked like you, talked like you, sold like you. But that's not the world anymore. And instead of adapting, you spent a year trying to force me out. Congratulations, you succeeded in exactly the wrong way. That night, my phone exploded with messages. Clients congratulating me, competitors trying to poach me. 3 of my small accounts asking if I was hiring. They had sales professionals they wanted to recommend. But the best message came from Elena Vasquez. Heard the news. About time. By the way, we're bidding on a $10 million federal project. Going to need a supplier who understands our vision. Interested? I smiled, thinking of the wolf pack licking their wounds, probably at some dive bar, wondering how their perfect system had failed. They'd spent so much energy trying to prove I didn't belong that they'd missed the bigger truth. I hadn't beaten them at their game. I'd made their game irrelevant. The February morning, I officially took over as regional sales director. I called a mandatory meeting for 8 a.m. The old guard shuffled in, their usual swagger replaced by something between resentment and fear. Tommy wore a suit for the first time in months. Brad had actually arrived early. Marcus sat in the back, arms crossed, radiating hostility. Gentlemen, I began, standing where Chuck used to hold court. Let's address the elephant in the room. You spent a year trying to destroy me. You failed. Now you work for me. The question is, what happens next? Silence stretched like scar tissue. Option 1, I continued, pulling up a slide. I fire you all today. Clean house. Start fresh with people who understand how business works in 2025. It's what you do in my position. It's probably what you're expecting. Tommy's jaw tightened. Brad stared at his phone like it held salvation. Option 2. Next slide. We acknowledge reality. The market you knew is dead. The relationships you coasted on are evaporating. Your choice is simple, evolve or exit. But if you stay, understand this. The wolf pack is extinct. No more boys club, no more hazing, no more hiding behind history while the future passes you by. Marcus finally spoke. You're enjoying this. Am I? I walked closer to the table. You think I enjoyed 60-hour weeks building my pipeline while you sabotaged my equipment? Think I enjoyed finding my business cards in the trash? Enjoyed being excluded from every meeting, every opportunity, every chance to prove myself until I had to create my own? I pulled up the next slide, screenshots of their WhatsApp messages. December 3rd, Brad. Can't wait till the diversity hire quits. November 15th, Tommy. $20 says she cries by Christmas. October 2nd, Marcus. Just scheduled a client meeting during her presentation. Oops. Each quote landed like a slap. So yes, Marcus, there's satisfaction in proving you wrong. But enjoying this? No. Because now I have to decide if any of you are salvageable, or if you're too damaged by your own toxicity to function in the real world. I returned to the podium. Here's how this works. Each of you will present your Q1 plan to me by Friday. Not your usual bullshit about relationship maintaining and client entertainment. Real plans, target accounts, value propositions, measurable objectives. Show me you can think beyond the country club. And if we don't, Brad asked, then you're terminated with 2 weeks severance. I have 43 applications from hungry sales professionals who'd kill for your base salary. People who understand that sales in 2025 means solving problems, not playing golf. I clicked to the final slide, a photo from the Houston conference. Me, surrounded by clients, all engaged, all energized. This is what success looks like now: diverse, collaborative, innovative, If you can't see yourself in this picture, there's the door. Tommy raised his hand, actually raised his hand like a schoolboy. What if we need help? With the plans? The question hung between defiance and desperation. Funny thing about help, Tommy. It's usually available to people who haven't spent a year trying to destroy the person they're asking. I gathered my materials. But I'll tell you what. I'm hosting a training session Thursday on consultative selling, 7 a.m. Anyone who shows up, ready to actually listen, gets a second chance. Anyone who doesn't, well, start updating your LinkedIn. Wednesday night. I was working late when Chuck appeared in my doorway. Demoted to operations, he looked smaller somehow, like a deflated balloon. I owe you an apology, he said. You owe me several, but I'm listening. He entered, sitting across from my desk, the supplicant's position. I've been in sales 30 years, thought I knew everything, thought the game never changed, just the players. He rubbed his face. Patricia showed me the revenue projections based on your client model versus our traditional approach. In 2 years, my way would have killed this department. It was already dying. You just couldn't smell the rot from inside it. Why didn't you just leave, after how we treated you? I leaned back. Because leaving would have let you win. Would have confirmed every bias, every assumption about women not being tough enough. I smiled coldly. Plus, I needed to be here for this moment. When you realized that everything you believed about success was wrong, that your system was just privilege dressed up as strategy. He nodded slowly. The young guys, they might adapt. Tommy's desperate enough. Brad's scared enough. But Marcus is gone Friday unless he has a revelation by Thursday morning. You could help them, show them what you know. I could. I agreed. But they had a year to ask for help. Instead, they asked how long until I quit. Actions have consequences. Chuck, that's something else your system never taught. Thursday morning, 6:47 a.m., I was setting up the conference room when Tommy arrived, then Brad. 2 junior sales guys I'd barely spoken to. Even Marcus, looking like he'd swallowed glass. 4 hours later, I deconstructed everything they thought they knew about sales. Showed them how to research beyond Google, how to map organizational influence, how to position value beyond price, how to build relationships without bourbon. Marcus stayed after. I'm 53 years old, he said. Been doing this since before you were born. And my daughter's about your age, shows me these TikToks about toxic workplace culture. I always laughed, told her that's just how business works. He met my eyes. I don't want her to have a boss like I was to you. It wasn't an apology, but it was a start. By Friday, 5 plans sat on my desk. 2 were unsalvageable, recycled garbage about leveraging existing relationships. Those men were gone by noon. But 3 showed promise, actual research, real strategies, humility disguised as professionalism. The next Monday, I announced the new team structure. The survivors would be joined by 4 new hires, 2 women, 1 fresh from college, 1 with a background in renewable energy. The conference room that had once reeked of cologne and contempt now buzzed with possibility. Patricia stopped by that afternoon. The board's impressed. They want you to present at the quarterly meeting. About rebuilding the department? About rebuilding the company. What you did here, they want it everywhere. That night, I found a note on my car. Same spot where they'd once told me to know my place. This time, different handwriting. Thank you for not giving up on us. T. I crumpled it up, then smoothed it out, then tucked it into my notebook, right next to the screenshots of their worst behavior. Both parts of the story, the fall and the possibility of redemption. Because the best revenge isn't just succeeding despite them, it's succeeding so completely that they have to beg you to teach them how. The boardroom at Iron Vale's headquarters had never seen a presentation like mine. 47 slides documenting not just a sales transformation, but a complete restructuring of how business could be done. The headline that morning in the Austin Business Journal read, Iron Vale Systems breaks sales record Thanks to formerly quota hire woman, Patricia had insisted on the media coverage. They tried to bury you, she'd said. Now let them read about their failure over morning coffee. 3 competing firms had already reached out with offers. Executive positions, equity packages, the works. But I wasn't done at Iron Vale. Not yet. 6 months later, I stood before 200 sales professionals at our annual conference. The transformation was complete. My Western division had become the model for the company's future. Revenue up 67%. Client satisfaction at an all-time high. And the Old Boys Club? Some adapted, some evolved. Some found other industries more tolerant of their dinosaur ways. Tommy had become one of my best performers, ironically. Once he stopped trying to be Chuck 2.0 and started actually listening to clients, he discovered he had a gift for technical sales. Brad pivoted to operations. Turns out he was better at process than people. Marcus took early retirement, but not before his daughter reached out to thank me for showing her dad what real leadership looks like. But the real victory came in smaller moments. The young woman who joined our team fresh from UT, telling me she'd chosen Iron Vale because she'd read about our transformation. The procurement manager at a Fortune 500 who said, "We only work with suppliers who walk the talk on diversity, and you proved it's not just talk." The 16 dead accounts that had become our most loyal clients, generating $12 million in recurring revenue. Chuck found me after my keynote. He was grayer now, humbler. "I need to say something," he began. "What we did to you was wrong, not just professionally, morally. We tried to break you because you threatened everything we thought we knew. And instead of breaking, you built something better than we ever could have." "You're right," I said simply. "You did try to break me." And for a while, late at night in that empty apartment, staring at those dead account lists, I wondered if you would. But you didn't quit. No, because every time one of you laughed at my little deals, every time you excluded me from a meeting, every time you tried to make me small, you just made me work harder. You thought you were wearing me down. You were forging steel. The offers kept coming, headhunters called daily. But that spring, I made a different choice. I announced my resignation at the Q2 meeting, not to join a competitor, but to launch Valor Edge Sales Institute, a training company dedicated to those the traditional system overlooked: women, minorities, career changers, anyone who'd been told they didn't belong in sales. My first client? Iron Vale Systems. Patricia signed a 3-year contract on the spot. The graduation ceremony for our first cohort was held in Austin that December. 42 new sales professionals, ready to transform their industries. Half were women. A third were people of color, all of them hungry to prove the old guard wrong. During the reception, a young woman approached me, early 20s, nervous energy, notebook in hand. "Ms. McKay, I'm starting at a tech company next week. Only woman on the sales team. They've already made comments about quotas and diversity hires. Any advice?" I smiled, remembering my own first day at Iron Vale. The pink stress ball, the dead accounts, the certainty in their eyes that I'd fail. "Yes," I said. "Document everything. Work harder than you've ever worked. Build your own network. And when they try to make you small, because they will, remember that their fear of your success is your greatest weapon." "Did you know you'd win? When you started?" "No," I admitted. But I knew something they didn't. The future doesn't belong to those who protect the past. It belongs to those who build something better. And that terrifies them more than any quota ever could. She thanked me and headed back to the party, shoulders a little straighter, notebook already filling with plans. I watched her go, thinking about the journey from that first hostile morning to this moment. They'd said this wasn't a job for a woman. They'd been right. In a way, it wasn't just a job, it was a revolution. And revolutions are always led by those with nothing to lose and everything to prove. The best revenge? It wasn't the 43% of revenue, wasn't the promotion or the headlines or the humbling of the wolf pack. It was this: creating a world where the next woman wouldn't have to fight quite as hard, where diversity hire would be a badge of honor, not a scarlet letter, where the old boys network would be just that, old news. As the party wound down, my phone buzzed with a message from Elena Vasquez. Saw the journal article. Remember when they laughed at us small fish? Just closed a $30 million federal contract. Dinner next week to plan world domination? I typed back, absolutely. But this time, we're picking the restaurant. Because that's what real victory looks like. Not just a seat at their table, but building your own and inviting everyone they tried to keep out. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'm curious, where are you listening from? Drop a comment below and let's connect. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this tale of corporate revenge and transformation. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever faced similar challenges in your workplace? How did you overcome them? Share your experiences in the comments below.